smoky. Got that heftiness with this. Welcome back to McIntyre's Malts. You are here with Wade, and I am going to do a tasting and review today of an all-time classic Scotch whiskey that is very well known and often the component of a lot of blended whiskies out there. And that whiskey today is the Talisker 10. All right, so you can see, for those of you that are familiar with Talisker, my bottle has the newer labeling with the sort of cool little island cutout on the label. Very much the blues and oranges that the Talisker bottles are known for. Now the older bottles had a cool label. I kind of like the old one, has a little bit more regalness to it in my opinion, but this is a nice touch with the little bit of the Isle of Skye, you know, the coastline. It's kind of neat, right? Plays on very much Talisker. It's funny, I don't know the history, but it often mentions, and they make a point to mention, from the oldest distillery on the Isle of Skye. So Talisker is probably chill filtered and probably colored, given that it is made with such a volume and capacity. Talisker 10 is a very common whiskey, and but don't let that put you off, right? The thing with Talisker 10 is it's got a reputation for a reason, right? Now, you know, craft or small scale versus you know, mass production, it's about the quality of the whiskey, not how much is made, right? So one of the things that Talisker has going for it that I always thought was a really nice touch is for such a mass-produced whiskey, being bottled at 45.8% ABV is great, right? They didn't put it back down to 40 or 42 or 43. Like, you've got a bit of heft in this one. So yeah, it's always appreciated when you get a whiskey that's so mainstream that still has that caliber to it. On the label itself, it says ruggedly maritime, sweet smoke, peat, pepper. Now, as I mentioned in some of the Ardbeg videos, I love the tasting notes being just short and concise and to the point on the label. It's great, right? If you've never tried a certain whiskey and you don't need to read this, you know, 3 chapters of all this oversaturated fluff of descriptors, you know, this appeals to me. I like it, right? I can go through the bottle shop and, you know, online and find a new whiskey that I'm interested in trying, and right away I know what to anticipate. So I think it's done very well. Okay, so let's pour a dram and get into the tasting and review of the Talisker 10. All right. Now, I always thought it was interesting. As I say, it's very likely that the Talisker 10 is colored, and I don't know if it's just the perception from their colors and the branding and the label itself, but I always thought that the Talisker whiskey itself looks like it has an orange tinge to it. So it may well just be that, you know, I'm perceiving it that way based on the colors on the label. Let's begin with the nose. There's a reason Talisker has a reputation, right? This is good old-fashioned, you know, no-nonsense whiskey, right? Like, it's just oily, the maritime notes, minerality, coastal notes, the smokiness. More, to me, it's more smoke than peat. White pepper, ground white pepper. And there's this underlying sweetness in it all too. It's not... salty bacon. You know, the sweet, I want to say oranges, and it's not necessarily that citric orange scent, but it almost feels like if you threw an orange in salty ocean water and then picked it up in an old tarry rope net and then let it sit in the sun covered in sand, then that's probably the smell of the orange, right? That's what I get. It's intense and it's powerful and it's a no nonsense. You know that you're getting a whiskey with this, right? It's not soft. I like my whiskeys harsh, and I like that intensity in a whiskey, and Talisker doesn't fail to deliver on that kind of whiskey. So much to it. It's great. It's great. All right, let's try on the palate and let you know what I think. Yes. Really nice oiliness. Yeah. Okay. So oily and salty, that mineral, that definitely is that coastal whiskey, and then you get that kick. And often people might confuse it with the alcohol, but it's that some people call it chili, but for me it's white pepper. Just the flavor and that bite, right, that hits at the back of the palate, and then cigar ash, smoky, just like a good old-fashioned, think you're in a smoky bar drinking a whiskey and the air's thick with cigarette smoke. That's that, bam, it's there, right? Tip whiskey in an ashtray, drink the ashtray, right? And I know that probably sounds crazy, that it doesn't seem appealing, but like if you like intense, heavy flavors that like I do, and that's the kind of whiskey that you gravitate towards, you're getting it. In the Talisker 10, you're getting it. There's that orangey sweetness is just lingering now around the sides of my palate as a nice sort of afterthought. When I breathe in, I can get the waft of the smokiness. Very much like they know their tasting notes, right? It's right on, bang on the money. You've got the coastal maritime influence with the smoke that comes through, and it's just a full, rich, no nonsense to give you context of the feeling that this spirit invokes. The only way I can think to describe it is hefty, heavy, dirty, smoky, single malt whiskey, straight. No ice, no mixer, not in a cocktail. Like, if you drink this, you got to have some heft about you. It's a powerful whiskey, right? And that's what's great about it. Talisker knows what it's good at, and it lets everyone else know, right? Let's try again on the nose and see what other flavors have developed as the Talisker 10 has opened in my glass. The saltiness, the maritime, those mineral notes have sort of subdued a touch. The nutmeg, cinnamon, those cola notes coming through. Very faint smokiness. And then you taste it for that second sip, right? And the same thing on the palate. Interesting. Much more mellow on the second sip. More of the similar flavors, but they've just subdued, right? And it's perhaps that my palate is acclimated to the whiskey, and it's just balanced out nicely. You've got all those elements and they've just sort of calmed down, if you will. This is a great whiskey. Often with whiskeys like the Talisker 10, I think this is my second bottle now, and you forget when you're trying lots of different whiskeys and they're all exciting and they're all new and they're different flavor profiles, and then you go back to one that you've had before and you remember why it was great in the first place. And Talisker 10 is exactly that. Like, I'm glad I came back to it and got another bottle. It sits in the range typically. The prices sort of vary in Australia. They sit anywhere between $85 through to sort of $105 depending on specials. It regularly is on sale, so maybe stock up, grab a couple of bottles when it's on the special discounted price. But it's a great whiskey, good balanced 10-year-old whiskey with just everything that you could want. If you are a fan of the Laphroaigs and Ardbegs, Lagavulins, the Talisker 10 gives you a nice differentiator that still falls within that realm of those smoky, hefty, intense whiskey, but it's different enough that it has its own unique offering compared to those whiskeys from Islay. So Talisker 10's a great whiskey. Enjoy your whiskey responsibly, and I'll catch you on the next tasting and review for McIntyre's Malts. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and like the video.